Upgrade your Monday, cause The View is live. Jumpstart your week with an entire show of hot topics. Remembering President Bush. The life and legacy of George H.W. Bush. Is he the last leader of a kinder, gentler era? And 'tis the season to look gorgeous on View Your Deal. Plus, find out how to get in on The View's $5,000 holiday cash sweepstakes. Let's go! Hot topics are on the table with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
By the way,
happy Hanukkah.
Can you tell?
Pants, yeah.
Oh, you love my pants?
Makes me want a candy cane.
Well, this is so that, you know how people sometimes say, oh, kiss my butt? You don't have to say that. In these, you can say, oh, lick my leg. And you like my sweater?
I love the sweater. That's a cute one.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah, y'all. Yeah. So America will spend this week saying goodbye to our 41st President, George H.W. Bush, who passed away at 94 this weekend. And the tributes have been pouring in from family and former presidents. And, you know, and looking at him as president, compared to, you know,
it's a different time.
You know, it suddenly puts everybody in a different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and it reminds us in a weird kind of way, sorry, I still got the call, how you can still not agree with somebody, but be respectful of somebody. And that's the thing I think I dug the most, is him rolling with Bill Clinton, you know,
he seems to be coming from a loving, kind place also, the man. That's what I am gleaning from what they're talking about, that he was loving. You know,
he was also known for his humility as president, and he talks about it a lot, that he was there to serve the people. He's a combat veteran. He's actually our last combat veteran to ever serve. He lied about his age to join the military, the Navy, after Pearl Harbor. An incredible life of service to our country. He was a two-term congressman, ambassador to the UN, chairman of the RNC, United States envoy, director of the CIA, and 8 years as vice president, and then obviously became president himself. But his love story with Barbara Bush, more than anything, is what touched me. They did interviews up until just, I think, 2 years ago with Jenna, where they're crying about their love for one another, and he died 8 months after her, and I just think it's a really beautiful example of a life of service and a great love.
That's why this weekend, so true. I felt like it was more of a celebration than anything else. It was a celebration of life, as you said, Meghan, of marriage, of a life of service. They were married 73 years, and Jenna, his granddaughter, interviewed him recently on the Today Show, and he said when he dies, the first person he wants to see would be Barbara if she goes first, then his mother, and then his 3-year-old daughter, who you remember passed away of leukemia. What I love most about him is that he was a family man, and he always put his family first. So you said he was the first envoy of China to China, and actually my family lived in the same home 35 years later that he lived in. And they still talk about him there today as being humble, as being funny. He was funny, and he was real. And I loved his relationship with the press. Could talk about that a lot on this show. And they were tough on him. It's not like they were easy on George H.W.
The press is tough on every president. That's part of their job. They're supposed to be.
He had such a respect for what they did.
Yes.
And the role that they play. So I think there's so much to learn from his life. And I hope that the next generation, they may not know him the way that we do, the way we remember him, but I hope they learn from him.
I want to say one thing about him that was not picked up really, because as a candidate, he said, those who think we're powerless to do anything about the greenhouse effect are forgetting about the White House effect. And then he signed into law the Clean Air Act Amendment of 1990, one of the most sweeping environmental statutes ever. This president that we have now is trying to unravel everything that he did and Obama did. And if I ever become a one-issue voter, it will be about pollution and the greenhouse effect and
Can
the
we
fact
focus
that
on the president, please? I don't want to talk about Trump.
Well, I do
we're in
for a
the
second.
moment
So,
of, we're honoring a great president
Excuse me a
who's
second,
passed.
please. I want to talk about
But
the
we're
different...
honoring, but I'm not interested in your one issue.
I don't care what you're interested in. I'm talking.
Well, I don't care what you're interested in
We'll
either.
be right back.
Boy. Okay?
Later, Christmas controversy. A radio station just banned a holiday classic from their playlist. Is it a tone-deaf song in the Me Too era? He survived the unthinkable.
Steve Scalise has been shot.
And his grit and toughness did what no one's been able to do. Bring Republicans and Democrats together. Now, Steve Scalise hits the political view for the first time. And
On a totally different note,
Howie Mandel, Kerry Washington, and Ruben and Clay light things up with holiday cheer. All this week on The View. Later, a brand new View Your Deal that's a real beauty. And find out about The View's $5,000 holiday cash sweepstakes.
welcome back. I had to adjust my shades. So
There was just one thing that I wanted to say about the passing of President Bush, was that the transition of power between Bush, who became a one-term president because Clinton beat him, and Clinton was really beautiful to witness. And it's a transition that I think a lot of other presidencies model off of. And he wrote President Clinton a letter. He said, "I wish you great happiness here," meaning at the White House. "I never felt the loneliness some presidents have described." And then ultimately he said, "Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting hard for you." And so to say that about someone who beat him really says a lot. It means, you know, that's how we're supposed to do it in this country.
well, it is. It's all about the, you know, like, I don't remember when, you know, it became us and them.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that, you know, people like Tip O'Neill or your dad would be talking to Teddy Kennedy, and they would be going back and forth, but it was always for the betterment of the country.
Yeah.
And now I'm saddened by this idea that we have to keep pointing these things out.
Well, didn't it start when Gingrich had that contract on America thing, and it was all about divisiveness? I believe that was the tipping point.
Maybe.
It began then.
Yeah.
Can we give a quick shout out, though, to Sully, the dog? Oh. George H.W. Bush's dog.
That's a nice picture.
I mean, the picture explains it all, but what a big
picture.
part of his life
Yeah.
he was, and he's with him till the end, obviously.
And I'm told he's going to be helping other vets
Yeah.
make transitions, and that's an amazing
cool.
thing. So yesterday, I was in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
in a beaded sort of gown thing
Not
with
the sweater
feathers
you're
and stuff. Huh? Not this quiet.
Do you have a picture?
I don't think we're allowed to put the pictures out until they air the thing.
okay.
But so I was asked to speak to Cher because she got the Kennedy Center honor yesterday, along with Philip Glass, Reba McEntire, and oh my goodness, see, this is what happens when your brain
Hamilton,
goes. The guys from Hamilton,
Lin-Manuel.
Lin-Manuel, and there is an amazing jazz man whose name I don't want to forget, and then I did.
Okay.
It'll come to me.
All right.
Or not. But it was amazing. One, because it was all music. It was all musicians this time, and I don't think I've seen that before. You usually see it's writers and musicians and dancers. It's all musicians. And it was really something.
Yeah.
You know, Esapatha Murkison did this amazing reading of a Philip Glass piece that was just, you're just kind of like, yeah, I want to be you when I grow up. I mean, and Cyndi Lauper doing want to share. It was extraordinary, and so it comes on the day after Christmas.
Yes.
And you'll have to check your local listings, because if you wait for me, you know I'm not going to remember.
The jazz guy is Wayne Short.
Wayne Short. This man, during his tribute, when you listen to all the stuff that he's played on and all the people he's played with, his eyes were brimming, and my eyes started brimming.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the things that the Kennedy Center honors do. It honors excellence in the United States, which is great. And so, not for nothing, but I will just say, don't forget Charlie Pride. Okay, that's all.
You've been trying to get that for a while.
Well, because I think he reaches all the criteria, you know. And this was a man who, by himself, sort of dragged lots of folks into country music, and he did it kind of by himself as this black guy, and people were like, oh, hello. So I think he's deserving, but I'm sure there are many people who are. But I just believe that Charlie is
He's a pretty
one.
iconic country singer,
I
though.
think so too.
I mean, I love Cher. Her play, the play about Cher's life is opening up tonight. I'm going to go to that. But also, you know, I have the Hamilton soundtrack on a constant loop in my car. My kids and I sing to it. And just when I saw some of the pictures from the Kennedy Center Honors, I thought Lin-Manuel literally read about Hamilton and dreamt up this masterpiece. I mean, I just
he also did In the Heights and other
but that kind of artist and artistry, it should be honored.
Because not only does it teach us in such a creative way about history, because I didn't know nearly as much about Hamilton until I saw the production, but it also inspires young kids to get into the arts and into music.
That's why,
I mean, that show is
in schools in the arts programs just drives me crazy, because it's such an outlet. As you know, Whoopi knows my daughter's a creative person.
And I know for myself. I know because, you know, Helena Rubinstein threw a lot of money into my neighborhood for the arts. And I was able to get into programs over at the Hudson Guild because she endowed this thing. And she was, you know, people who support the arts, you know, you can look at your kids and say, well, that never happened to you. But look at me. Anything is possible. If it happened for me, anything is possible. We'll be back. This is what I have to tell you. The Kennedy Center Honors was Cher, Reba McEntire, saxophonist Wayne Shorter, and composer Philip Glass. He got the traditional Lifetime Achievement honor. Hamilton creators were honored for their transformative work. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Thomas Kail, and Andy Blankenbuehler.
Who did your dress?
Thank you. It was hosted by Gloria Estefan, and she also paid an amazing tribute to George H.W. Bush. Cyndi Lauper performed, and Christian Siriano made me look like a zillion bucks.
See the picture. No picture.
No pictures yet. You'll recognize me.
He did think of last time he did something for you. You look very good.
Yeah, he tends to, you know, he knows that my body's like this, so he always fills into this part of it, so it always looks really good.
And he's been doing designs during his fashion show for women of all sizes. Before it became like hip, right?
I love that.
Cute to do.
Yeah.
Now, there has been some controversy over yet another song. First, Cleveland's Christmas station just announced they're banning this Oscar-winning song that was first made popular by Ricardo Montalban and Esther Williams in the 1949 movie Neptune's Daughter. Take a look.
Neighbors might
take your hat. Your hair looks swell.
I ought to say no,
Mind
sir.
if I move in closer?
At least I'm gonna say that I tried.
What's the sense of hurting my
I
pride?
really can't
Oh,
say.
baby, don't hold on tight.
So people are saying that the message of this song sends a bad message to the Me Too era.
I can't.
This song was not written
The woman
in the
up there
Me Too.
literally laughed out loud, put your hand over your mouth.
Yeah, you speak for many of us, man.
You know, I understand. I mean, like, I get what they're saying, but you know what? in 1949, people didn't go to bed with each other.
Well, they did,
okay?
but we didn't know about it.
Well, okay. You know. But if you were dating someone, you'll never see a movie where the people go to bed.
Right, in the movie.
This was considered, he was making love to her.
They would have waves crashing.
Waves
That meant they
crashing,
did it.
you know, making out was making love.
Or a train going through a tunnel.
Or a train
like
going through a
Vertigo,
tunnel. There's all
Alfred
kinds of
Hitchcock.
stuff. Yeah.
You know, the same scene in Vertigo and Alfred Hitchcock when a train goes through a hole.
And it's
an implied.
Yeah.
It's north by northwest.
North by northwest.
I have always liked that that song because when I was getting married, you know, all women in the family were giving me advice about my wedding night. So my grandmother, who's
Were you a virgin?
Anyway.
She doesn't answer questions about her sex life either.
Megan.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
So they were giving me advice. And so my grandmother, who didn't speak a lot of English, she says, I'll tell you what to do. I said, yes. She says, say, baby, it's cold outside. And I was like, what does that mean?
No.
I had no idea what she meant. My mother was like,
what about this song by
it's a
Robin
beautiful song.
Thicke? It's called Blurred Lines.
Right, but these are two.
This song.
These are two different eras, two different songs.
Well,
but this, I know you want to get to that one. Let me finish up with this.
I just want to read it.
I know you do. Let me finish up with this one.
This is my favorite Christmas song. I make my husband sing this duet with me every year, and it sounds terrible, but it's like it's in Elf, which is also my favorite Christmas movie.
What's
which
the
is
song?
a movie for
It's Cold
kids.
Outside.
Oh, that one?
By the way.
It's an elf?
Yeah.
Where does it end?
Well,
where does it end?
Here's the thing. And you can, you know, there are lots of things that make people uncomfortable. There are things that will make you uncomfortable if you're looking to be uncomfortable. That's what this song is for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Because this is not, you know, this is an era when people would, you know, chased kiss. When she says, you know, my mother would be clanging the door. You know, none of us at that age were looking at our moms, talking to our mothers.
Yeah.
In those days, they were. So please lighten up on this. When you see something like what you're about to talk about, it's quite real. This, I can't buy this. I can't buy it.
That people are saying that it's like a date rape song.
This is the date rape song.
Yeah, because that's the criticism, that it's some kind of date rape.
Well, that's because she says, I really can't stay. And he says, but baby, come on, you know. And he's
And
like,
she says, what's in
luring her
this
back. Yeah, what's in the drink? I know, but it was an innocent thing at the time.
Yeah.
To bring it to this era, but this is a new song from the, you know, from Blur. It's called Blurred Lines. And the lines, this lyrics are, I hate these blurred lines. I know you want it. I hate them blur lines.
You know I got it.
Want it. I know you want it. Then she goes, you're a good girl. The way you grab me must mean you get nasty. Go ahead, get at me. You know you want it. Like that. I don't like that song. I have to say, I like the song because I walk to it. You know, it's like, you know you want it.
That's why she does it.
But that was a date rape song.
There was also a lawsuit about that song with Marvin Gaye's family
Not about
over
this
being stolen.
Yeah, about this song.
You want it?
Yeah, that's Marvin's family.
Why we listen to that song with that?
You know, he did a duet with Miley Cyrus doing that song, and she was twerking on stage. It was at an award show. Remember that? It was like,
what's that song?
So that
None of that is Christmas music.
No, it's not Christmas music. But
Baby, it's cold outside means it's snowing outside. Come on, snuggle up. That's what they're talking about.
Exactly.
And then you can go home.
I didn't even know it was like a sexual song. I thought it was about literally being out in the cold snow and wanting to come inside.
My grandmother
So I don't know.
You know,
Yeah, your grandmother.
In 1949, you know,
I thought it was about being cold.
they talk about snuggling and don't go outside. It's cold. But Sonny.
Yes. I want to tell you a little bit about View Your Deal, which is coming up next. Later. So today on View Your Deal, you're the hot topic on today's View Your Deal because we're featuring the best beauty products and giving you a head start on holiday shopping at viewyourdeal.com. So you can really log on right now. Sorry, audience. Yes.
Okay.
Find out how to get in on the View's $5,000 holiday cash sweepstakes next.
Quick note, if you have a tight budget for your holiday shopping, I think $5,000 would probably help you out. Right? So Listen up, because we're announcing our holiday cash sweepstakes. One lucky home viewer is winning $5 grand this Thursday. So go to the Facebook page, find out where you can enter for a chance to win by tomorrow at midnight Eastern, and then tune in on Thursday to see if you won.
That's great.
Yeah.
$5,000.
Yeah. I bet $5,000 would make it easier to get around, but maybe not. Because people are relying so much on their GPS, to figure out where they are and where they're going. And I feel, and many people seem to feel, that we're losing our sense of direction. Especially according to this op-ed in the Washington Post. I mean, I think it's true. I think people, you put it in and then you hope for the best. Because there's no guarantee that you can even read the GPS map. Because the lines are going this way and that way.
How
It's
did
like
people used to do it?
maps.
So you would hold up a map on your dashboard.
You had someone or you're
had a map in the
driving,
glove
you opened up
compartment.
the map and you followed the line.
That was
and
easier?
you learned how to do stuff. You learned how to take the time that you needed to figure out where you went. It's the same with a phone number. With the phone, how many of you remember phone numbers?
Yeah, if I had to call my mom right now, I couldn't tell you how to reach my mom.
Yeah.
I don't know my mom's cell phone number.
See?
I still remember
so
my
sad.
original phone number.
Yes.
My dad
But other
taught
numbers
me.
I don't
Yeah.
remember.
It-
But the GPS system, the Waze system, has destroyed my husband's brain.
What do you mean?
Because he used to be map man, Steve. He read everything, and he doesn't go 2 blocks without Waze anymore.
Right.
But I think it's good for men because they never would ask for directions.
Right.
Now they don't have to.
And now they have that. I mean, my dad taught me how to read a map. Because
She hits
when
her
I was,
husband and goes, yeah, that's right.
because when I was driving, as a 18-year-old, we needed the maps. We didn't have that GPS.
Yeah.
But now I got to tell you, I use my GPS everywhere I go, even though I know how to get there. But sometimes they give you good tips, like there's a crash here.
Well, that's
There's
what
an
Waze
accident.
is for.
There's a crash.
That specifically
I like that.
is why Waze was created, to tell you where the problems were. It wasn't created to tell you where places were.
No. Yeah.
But people use Waze the same way. And what tends to happen is it will take you sometimes to the wrong place or through places you really don't want to go through.
Sometimes that does happen.
Yeah, that does happen.
I'm not allowed to drive for several reasons. But occasionally, I will hop in my VW and, put the thing in. And, man, I'm driving along, and I'm like, I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm supposed to be in this neighborhood.
But you have to trust.
It does do
So
that.
are we just a dumber generation? Like
we're
if you
getting
were to
dumber.
leave, if I were to be left in the middle of nowhere, I think I'd have a much harder time finding safety than, let's say, generation.
Stick with me,
2 times
kid. You'll
ago.
be fine.
Oh, yeah?
I'll just hang out with Megan. She's got her shotgun.
yeah?
She can help me out.
Oh, not the
Stick with
guns.
me.
again.
Listen,
Please,
I
with
can
the
find my
guns.
way
You
around.
always carry, if you get left
I didn't
in the
say
middle of
anything
nowhere.
about guns, Abby.
No. You pick up 2 handfuls of dust and you walk with them. And if someone gets out their car and they come at you, you throw the dirt at them.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's right in the Oh, yeah.
No gun need.
Well, guns don't hurt. But if you don't have one, get some dirt and right in the face.
That's pretty
because
good.
no one is looking for
We
that.
didn't have cell phones or
No.
GPS.
No.
I was scared a lot of times. I remember when I would drive by myself, I had a bowling pin with a hat on it next to me, a big bowling pin to make it look like someone
Somebody else
with
was
me.
in the car.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I know my dad taught me how
And I
to change.
dated that bowling pin.
My
he said,
taught
"Baby,
me
it's
how to
cold
change-
outside."
right? My dad taught me how to change a tire.
Yeah.
Because
And do it now.
You had to call. You didn't have a phone to
No.
call anybody
No,
or anything
I
like
know.
that. But a lot of my younger girlfriends, they don't know how to do it.
I used to be able to change my tires on my bug.
You
I
have
love a
to.
bug. I love a bug because they just get through where they need to go. So I could change the tires, I could change the oil, and now you got to call people for that.
Well, one time I tried to change them, but my lug nuts were frozen. And when that happens, it's just forget
It's
it.
rough when you have frozen
It
lugs.
does.
I knew it.
I set her off.
I knew it.
All right, you big lug. We'll be right back.
Sure, you love watching The View.
Oh my God, I love it.
Just trust me on this.
But during commercial breaks, you wouldn't believe what happens. Because, yeah, we love our audience that much, and anything goes. For your chance to experience the fun, go to oneiota.com for free tickets. Can you hear me say hello? Tomorrow, Congressman Steve Scalise on the terrifying moments when a gunman almost killed him. How he says the president helped him recover, and why it hasn't changed his view on gun control.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So,
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to somebody before we go on. On Friday, we were talking about Kid Rock and, I don't know if you read about it. It seemed to be all over the place. But I want to give a shout out to the mayor of Nashville, David Briley, for defending my honor and my good name. Thank you, David. Oh, yeah.
And speaking of folks with good names, congratulations to Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas, who got married in a traditional Hindu wedding that was packed full of pre-wedding festivities and ceremonies and dance contests. And so,
That was some wedding, man.
This is an ABC News special report celebrating President George Herbert Walker Bush. Now reporting, George Stephanopoulos.
Good morning and welcome back as we continue to honor America's 41st President, George H.W. Bush. There you see the motorcade, the hearse carrying his casket, which has just pulled into Ellington Air Force Field in Houston, Texas. About a 45-minute drive from his home, accompanied by family members, met by a military honor guard at Ellington Air Force Base in front of Air Force One, which has been sent by President Trump, retitled Special Air Mission 41 in honor of our 41st president for his final journey to the U.S. Capitol, where later today he will lie in state in the U.S. Capitol celebration with the leadership of Congress Vice President Mike Pence and his family ahead of a state funeral at Washington's National Cathedral on Wednesday. Of course, all of these honors meticulously planned with the participation of President Bush himself. He will be met there by General Michael Howard, who's the commanding general of Washington, D.C., in charge of all funeral preparations, and an honor guard that you see there representing every branch of the military service. Also there to escort his father, America's 43rd president, George W. Bush. Cokie Roberts, every moment of these rituals meticulously planned.
By the military. That is what happens with a presidential funeral, and they're planned often. What happened with President Bush, for instance, is that some of the people he had originally planned to eulogize him have died, and he has had to redo his plans. But you know, George, thinking about these days of respect and remembrance, which we'll be having this week, I'm struck with the tributes that have come in over the weekend by the thousands, how specific they are. It's not, we mourn your loss. It's from the NIH. He did the Human Genome Project. From the CIA, he reconstituted the agency and brought back its reputation. From individuals, one after another, acts of personal kindness. It's really something to see.
And there we see the honor guard going to meet the casket. Not only institutional remembrance, Cokie Roberts, but also such personal remembrance for President George Bush. It's been said so many times that he represents another era, an era when people used to write letters, and he wrote them by the thousands.
And they're quite personal. His letters to his mother, for instance, really say things that, you know, you don't expect young men to tell their mothers, but he did. And if you had any interaction with him, you would get a note. He wrote to me when my mother died, for instance, a very lovely note. He was very well brought up.
President's family, President George W. Bush, Neil Bush, their children and grandchildren, and Major General Michael Howard of the Military District of Washington, D.C. Ruffles and flourishes, hail to the chief. The U.S. Navy hymn and a 21-gun salute for America's 41st president. Now on Special Air Mission 41 for that flight from Houston, Texas, Ellington Air Force Field to Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Capitol, where President George H.W. Bush will lie in state later today. You see his family there. President George W. Bush, his son Neil Bush, children and grandchildren. And they'll go on to the plane now as well. And Terry Moran, so appropriate that the president ushered out with the naval hymn. I want to also show a tweet that was sent out by his office earlier today. With his final rest, he will wear some socks, some special socks, which pay homage to his time as a fighter pilot, shot down at the age of 20 in World War II. And Terry, he said that was the defining experience of his life.
He did, and he was asked, of all the high positions that he held in public service, vice president, head of the CIA, envoy to China, congressman, what prepared him the best to be president of the United States? And he said that day in September 1945, when he was shot out of the sky, he had been tested, and he also had come to understand, in a way very few people do, the value of human life. He would say sometimes in talking about that, I'm no hero. And one can't help but see with the passing of George Herbert Walker Bush, the passing of a certain ideal of American manhood, the strong, silent type, brave, even lethal if necessary, but not a braggart or not any kind of person, certainly not this person, George Herbert Walker Bush, to brag on something, an act of heroism like that.
That was not the man he was. You see his son, George W., climbing onto Special Air Mission. Of course, there is his service dog, Sully, by his side for so many years. Will now be returning to Washington, D.C. and stay in service for other veterans of the war. Cokie Roberts.
At Walter Reed Hospital, Walter Reed, the original hospital and Navy, have combined to one facility called Walter Reed, and it's filled with military wounded warriors. And so to have Sully go on to be helpful to them is so incredibly appropriate and so typical of the Bush family to do this, to say, because I've met the dog, he's a very sweet dog, but so it's hard to say goodbye, but the dog should be a service dog.
And will be. There you see this weekend, laying before the casket. The president also got a farewell just moments ago from the U.S. Navy. Fair winds and following seas, sir. We have the watch. Approximately a 3-hour flight from Houston, Texas, on to Washington, D.C. Later this afternoon, as we said, the president will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol. There will be a ceremony at the Capitol Rotunda. Mary Bruce, our chief congressional correspondent, is there. Mary.
George, members of the armed services are starting to line up here in front of the Capitol for the ceremony to come here this afternoon. The Capitol preparing to honor President Bush, welcome him back to the Capitol for the final time. This, of course, is the place where his political career began. He served 2 terms here in the House of Representatives, and today he will be celebrated and honored by members of his former cabinet, his former colleagues. Of course, his Vice President, Dan Quayle, will be present, his dear friend, former Secretary of State James Baker as well. And we will hear directly from members of Congress, the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, the House Speaker, Paul Ryan, and the Vice President, Mike Pence, also the only member of the White House to speak out here today. The President, of course, is not present here for this ceremony, though he is slated to attend the funeral on Wednesday at the National Cathedral. And George, President Bush is being remembered on both sides of the aisle as a leader who was dignified, gracious, restrained, and resolute. And you get a sense from leaders on both sides of the aisle that they are mourning not just the loss of this tremendous statesman, but the loss of a real political era, that he is being remembered as someone who embodied bipartisanship, something that is in such short supply up here these days, George.
No question about that. We'll see what lessons Washington takes away as we honor the president in these final days. And of course, Cokie Roberts, the president began his political career in the Congress.
In the House of Representatives, representing this district that he's leaving right now. So he's made this trip many times. But it was only 2 terms, but it propelled him into other elective office and public service. And really, his entire life dedicated to public service. But the Congress remained a place that, even though it frustrated him when he was president, he liked the Congress. He respected the institution. And he went to the Hill and met with members of both sides and had a good time with them. He enjoyed the give and take with members of Congress.
The Honor Guard now leaving the field at Ellington Air Force Base. Amy, quite a moment there.
It certainly was, George. We've been watching from the risers here. So many members of the media gathered to watch those who loved President H.W. Bush make this final departure to D.C. We, out of respect, were quiet during the entire departure ceremony, which had been very rehearsed for many, many weeks, and especially in the days leading up to this final departure, to make sure everything was just as planned. And you saw there the Joint Honor Military Guard as the pallbearers taking the casket of George H.W. Bush onto the plane of Air Force One, which has been aptly renamed for today, Special Air Mission.